You're watching Republic.
Hi there, good evening. Hope you had a great Sunday. And now it's time to look forward to the coming week. Welcome back to this week's edition of Looking Forward. This show, Looking Forward, is about stories that are shaping up over the coming days and weeks, news that is developing and would have consequences for your life and mine, and impact our choices. Stories that shape India's and world's politics and economics going forward, so let's get going. Tonight's show packs a punch with 4 stories that you should look forward to over the coming week. Story number 1 is about the next Vice President of India. The BJP made its surprise pick in Maharashtra Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan just a while back. Radhakrishnan comes with a deep RSS links and going back decades in fact, and gives the ruling alliance a Tamil Nadu spin ahead of the assembly elections in the state next year. We will go deeper into the story with some guests joining us on top of the show. The last day of monsoon session on August 21 is also the day when nominations can be accepted, and with its pick, the BJP is opening the last week of the session with a political bang. Second story tonight is on the 2-day visit of Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi to New Delhi that begins tomorrow. Wang is here as a special representative on India-China boundary talks and would mainly have dialogue with NSA Ajit Doval. He would, of course, meet External Affairs Minister Jaishankar and call on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's going to begin to be in China next week. Story number 3 is on how Trump and Putin are going to take their dialogue forward. From Alaska to Moscow is going to be a complex journey, with Zelensky arriving in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. European leaders would be joining via video link. How the geopolitics of Europe war pans out, you would get to know. And finally, Gaganath Shubhanshu Shukla is back in India. He landed last night. And he has a packed week beginning with a meeting with Prime Minister Modi tomorrow. We look forward to India's space journey through Shukla's itinerary this coming week. Let's begin with the headlines.
राधाकृष्णन जी, चंद्रपुरम पुन्नासामी राधाकृष्णन जी, उनको हम एनडीए का प्रत्याशी बनाएंगे.
NDA announces their pick for vice presidential polls. NDA chooses Maharashtra Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan as the face for vice president.
वोट चोरी जैसे गलत शब्दों का इस्तेमाल करके जनता को गुमराह करने का असफल प्रयास किया जाए तो यह भारत के संविधान का अपमान नहीं तो और क्या है.
The Election Commission gives Rahul Gandhi 7-day ultimatum. Chief Election Commissioner Ganesh Kumar has asked Gandhi to either file an affidavit supporting his vote chori claims against the poll body or apologize to the nation within 7 days. Taking a strong posture against opposition antics on the SIR, the EC called the protests against the spirit of the Constitution.
जहां तक वेस्ट बंगाल के SIR की तारीख की बात है, हम तीनों कमिश्नर्स एक उचित समय देखकर उसका निर्णय लेंगे कि कब वेस्ट बंगाल में होना है या देश के अन्य राज्यों में कब होना है. उसकी तारीखों का ऐलान आने वाले समय में उचित समय पर किया जाएगा.
And unfazed Chief Election Commissioner Ganesh Kumar says that the EC will decide on conducting a special intensive revision in West Bengal and other states at an appropriate time.
मैं फिर आप सभी से, सभी देशवासियों से आग्रह करूंगा, भारत में बने सामान पर हम भरोसा करें. भारतीय हैं तो भारत में बना ही खरीदें.
After his historic Independence Day speech, Prime Minister Modi reiterates his support for Swadeshi goods, says we need to buy Indian goods which have been made in India. made by Indians. After Kishtwar, heavy rains trigger massive landslide in Kathua, leaving 7 dead and 6 others injured. Rescue teams have rushed to the spot and salvage operations are on. The bilateral trade agreement between India and the United States seems in a limbo as US team's India visit stands postponed amid Trump tariff fall. The team of negotiators was to visit New Delhi on August 25 and the visit stands indefinitely deferred. The United States has been pressing India to open its agriculture and dairy sectors, but India has ruled out any concessions. Ahead of a meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky, Trump took to Truth Social saying that there is a big progress on Russia. This even as Zelensky is all set to be in Washington, D.C. and European leaders including EU Ursula von der Leyen, Italy's Giorgia Meloni, German Chancellor Merz and France's Macron are likely to join the meeting via video link. All right, welcome friends. In a way, a surprise move after its parliamentary board meeting just a while back, the BJP made its vice presidential pick in C.P. Radhakrishnan, who's the sitting governor of Maharashtra. Before that, he has been governor of Jharkhand and Telangana. And then, of course, he's also the party's Tamil Nadu face. Remember, he was a member of parliament twice from Coimbatore in the late 1990s when NDA 1 was in power under Prime Minister Vajpayee. And the BJP has got all its cards right, it seems, because he belongs to the OBC community from Tamil Nadu. So he ticks so many boxes. An OBC leader from the Gundar, Kongu, Vellar community, from South India, from Tamil Nadu, and essentially the BJP throwing the gauntlet on the opposition and specifically the Congress party joining us for a brief conversation of about 10 minutes. BJP spokesperson Tuhin Sinha. We also have R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist, leans towards the right, senior journalist, and we also have political analyst Pulla Rao. Dr. Pulla Rao leans towards the DMK and hence the opposition voice. So if I could begin with you, Pulla Rao, surprised, foxed, or you see a googly in the announcement made by the BJP for its VP pick?
Ever since Mr. Dhankhar resigned, Mr. Radhakrishnan's name has been there. He's been talked about, and there's no surprise. You see, and you also mentioned his great victories in 1998 and 1999 as MP. Once was with the ADMK Alliance, once with the DMK Alliance, 99. After that, there's been a stunning electoral silence. There's nothing. He is a very safe choice for the BJP. He will not create any problems. Yes, if you ask me, he has tremendous luck. Tremendous luck. He became an MP in 1999 with DMK support. After that, there's no contribution or election. I'll say he's a very nice man. Nobody denies that. Then after that, he has become governor of Maharashtra. Now, thanks to Dhankhar's resignation.
But Pulla Rao, I'm not talking about your reaction as someone representing the opposition view. How does the opposition see this? Are they not foxed and flummoxed?
I'm saying he's a very lucky man. But the choice could have been, a little more consensus. They should have discussed with the opposition.
That's BJP's concern, Pulla Rao. That's not your concern. But let me take this to Rajgopalan. Mr. Rajgopalan, Tuhin Sinha is also back. There was some connectivity issue. But before that, Rajgopalan. Mr. Rajgopalan, you think this is BJP's googly that the opposition might not be able to handle, given the fact that he comes from Tamil Nadu? It would be very difficult for his talent to say no.
Abhishek, this as the C.P. Radhakrishnan name as Vice President has put DMK in a tight spot. Will the India alliance crack? Will the India alliance split? Or it is a pressure on Rahul Gandhi? Will he support DMK, which supports a Tamilian? Suppose if they go against it, it will have an implication in 2026 assembly elections. And second thing, you have to understand, it's like a ABJ Abdul Kalam syndrome. DMK has been saying, we don't have funds, we don't have representation, Tamil Nadu is neglected. In Tamil, they say, தெற்கு தேய்கிறது வடக்கு வாழ்கிறது. That means, north is progressing, south is, depleting. Now south has got importance. My understanding is, again, Mr. Rajnath Singh is going to speak to Mr. Stalin today or tomorrow. Mr. Rajnath Singh was the special emissary of Prime Minister Narendra Modi at 100 rupee coin release of Mr. Karunanidhi, who completed 100 years last year. Therefore, Rajnath Singh and DMK has a soft relationship. Second, DMK is not averse to any Tamilian. It is going to create an immense problem for Mr. Rahul Gandhi, not for DMK. Therefore, Mr. Narendra Modi's surprise is a welcome one, and this will also result in major things in Rajya Sabha Abhishek, because Mr. C.P. Radhakrishnan, as I have known, he's a very fine gentleman. He's very, very, soft to everyone. Will he control the Rajya Sabha? Can he control this Manoj Jha type and Sanjay Singh type and
Well, a good point that you make. Can I ask this question to Tuhin Sinha? Tuhin, you tick the box on the state he's coming from. It would be very difficult for the DMK to oppose. I think Rahul Gandhi cannot find fault with the fact that he's an OBC. But the issue of whether he's a little soft insofar as, the role is concerned of being tough with the opposition and to be, governing an essentially unruly house.
Well, good evening, Abhishek. I think we have made a wonderful choice. Kudos to the choice made by the Parliamentary Board of Radhakrishnan Ji. C.P. Radhakrishnan Ji comes with a very rich experience, both as a politician and, in the last few years as a governor. And he's a man of unimpeachable integrity. He's a man of proven integrity, proven administrative skills. So I don't think it will be difficult for him to manage the proceedings of the Rajya Sabha. Moreover, his nationalist moorings, his nationalist, the ideology which he has been with all his life would be very handy in these situations where the opposition is bent on taking, on many issues, the opposition has taken an anti-India line. So while you have seen the soft side of him, he has been a very good administrator. And I think, as an administrator, whether you are soft in your demeanor or whether you are rough in your demeanor, it doesn't matter, because an administrator is supposed to deliver, and he has always delivered. So I think it's a brilliant choice. And also, my previous speaker was mentioning on your show, and it's a representative, very important representation from South, from Tamil Nadu, at a time when some people are trying to seek a different identity for the South. I think it's a brilliant choice. He has always rooted for nationalism. He has also been the BJP president from Tamil Nadu, which means that he has traveled extensively over a period of 3 years, 2004 to 2007, in every district of Tamil Nadu.
Okay, in fact, the googly is working, it seems to him, because I'm getting reports which suggest that the NDA might already be breaking on this, and the Shiv Sena Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray of Uddhav Thackeray has essentially shown inclination that because he's the Maharashtra governor, sitting Maharashtra governor, they might support him. Pullarao, can you give us a breaking news development on coming in from Tamil Nadu that even Stalin might decide so, given the fact that he is the Tamil face, C.P. Radhakrishnan?
I don't know.
But you don't know, but can you make an informed guess as to whether Stalin would be in a fix now?
You just remember, the tallest Malayali was P.C. Alexander, governor of Maharashtra for 10 years. Yet, he didn't get a single vote in Kerala. Neither an MP or neither an MLA.
It's not about direct vote, Pullarao. This is about a party deciding whether C.P. Radhakrishnan qualifies as a Tamil face for the DMK to support him.
When he stood for president...
Okay, let me put a sharper question. If the Indie bloc picks up a leader who is not from Tamil Nadu, then the choice becomes clear for Stalin and the DMK, Pullarao, whether to vote for a Tamil or a non-Tamil. In which case, what happens?
I don't think so. I think they will not. They may put up another Tamilian. How do you know who they are going to put up?
Okay.
They may put up another Tamilian.
Okay, you think that the DMK and Indi might pull out something out of their hat and make it a Tamil versus Tamil contest?
Googly will become an off-ball. Your googly will become an off-ball and be thrown out for a 6 out of the stadium. They may pull a Tamilian. How would they like that then? I am sure of that. they will take such a step. Many stalwart.
Okay, Rajgopalan, last word. Mr.
Tamilians.
Rajgopalan, last word to you. I have to wrap up this short, quick conversation. Last word to you.
CP Radhakrishnan candidature is a smart move. It has rattled the Congress and also the India Alliance, especially Mr. Rahul Gandhi, because DMK Congress Alliance now will be at question mark. Now Tamil Nadu elections are going to be held next year. Therefore, DMK has to take a position. In all practicality, 18 Rajya Sabha members Tamil Nadu, 40 members of Lok Sabha are in full swing.
Mr. Rajgopalan, even as Rahul Gandhi is stuck at finding SC/ST secretaries to the government of India, we have scheduled tribes president, we have an OBC vice president now, possibly because of the numbers that are stacked in favor of the NDA. We have an OBC prime minister and, of course, an SC Chief Justice of India. I think that really speaks volumes of the kind of politics that's panning out. Thank you so much. Tuhin, sorry I've run out of time because I have other stories to run. Thank you so much, Tuhin, Raja Gopalanji, and of course, Pulla Rao. Moving on, friends. All right. When Donald Trump came into office, he said in his first speech that his legacy will be that of a great unifier. While the assumption is that he said so for a Nobel push through conflict mediation, his policy is succeeding in uniting the world. Unfortunately for him, it's his tariff policy which is uniting the world against the United States. Just look at what has happened in the last 2 months in our neighborhood. From Defense Minister Rajnath Singh walking out of the SCO without signing a declaration because China was dragging its feet to condemn Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. From China actively providing intelligence support to Pakistan during Operation Sindoor and entertaining with great pomp its Field Marshal Asim Munir in Beijing. In 2 days from now, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will land in New Delhi to hold the special representative level talks with NSA Doval on the India-China boundary question. And in 2 weeks, we will have Prime Minister Modi sharing a handshake with Chinese President Xi Jinping at the same SCO summit, his first China visit since 2019. This is the story of the tango between the elephant and the dragon. The Act 2 begins now, and we are all looking forward.
Winds of change are blowing. The geopolitical order is realigning. Global alliances are recalibrating. Amidst the economic ambition and border fault lines lies the destiny of two ancient civilizations and the fate of nearly half of the world's population. The elephant and the dragon are once again headed for a historic handshake, as Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi will arrive in New Delhi for a 2-day visit to hold the round of special representative talks on the India-China boundary question. As per the MEA, the Chinese diplomat will meet his counterpart NSA Jagdeep Dhankhar as part of the special representative talks and is also expected to meet External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar.
I think the key talking points in the big picture are an overall, let's say, analysis overview of China-India relations overall. Though there are definitely standing matters on our boundary issue, and remember, his visit is for the special representatives talks, and these special representatives are nominated for the boundary issue, right? So, of course, the boundary issue, and then, of course, along with it, matters of trade, where we are seeing some non-tariff barriers by the Chinese with regards to imports or exports from India.
Despite the frayed ties along the border in recent years, most notably since the Galwan clash of 2020, India and China have made progress diplomatically.
We are both at a crucial phase in our respective modernization endeavors. It best serves the fundamental interests of our two countries and two peoples.
सीमा पर शांति और स्थिरता बनाए रखना हमारी प्राथमिकता रहनी चाहिए. म्यूचुअल ट्रस्ट, म्यूचुअल रिस्पेक्ट और म्यूचुअल सेंसिटिविटी हमारे संबंधों का आधार बने रहना चाहिए.
However, China has been dragging its feet on the boundary question. with no discernible progress made since the withdrawal announced last year. Trust issues continue to remain high despite diplomatic engagement. The big question that now emerges: are India and China headed towards normalization of ties?
Normalization of ties, as I was saying earlier, has two parts. One is trying to find some sort of normalization of the border issues. And the second one really goes to this issue of economics, which is kind of an outgrowth of what to do with BRICS, how to use BRICS as an effective tool. Obviously, if India goes alone against the United States, it's an asymmetrical situation where India can easily be bullied by the US despite its firm stated intention not to be bullied. It's still very, very difficult. But by joining together with BRICS, India can make a huge difference, and instead of being dictated to, they could in fact set the record straight, be fair, but be very, very firm.
Normalization may not yet be so easy, as the shadow of Chinese support for Pakistan during Operation Sindoor through their live battlefield intelligence and military hardware once again has reignited mistrust.
On 10th of May, I think, our National Security Advisor, he had a telephone conversation with his counterpart, the Foreign Minister and the Special Representative on Boundary Issue, Mr. Wang Yi. During this conversation, our National Security Advisor conveyed clearly India's resolute stance on cross-border terrorism emanating from Pakistan, and just to underline that the Chinese side is well aware that mutual trust, mutual sensitivity and mutual respect forms or remains the basis of India-China relations.
India didn't let the Chinese support to Pakistan slide, with tensions boiling over in June during Defence Ministers' SCO summit visit, where India walked out without signing the joint declaration.
Any acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable, regardless of their motivation, whenever, wherever, and by whomsoever committed. SCO members must condemn this evil unequivocally.
They could not adopt a joint statement. I also understand that certain member countries could not reach consensus on certain issues, and hence the document could not be finalized. On our side, India wanted concerns on terrorism reflected in the document, which was not acceptable to one particular country, and therefore the statement was not adopted.
However, it all changed by July, thanks to one man.
Indian officials have said that there are other countries that are buying Russian oil.
It's okay.
Like China, for instance, buys more.
Yeah.
Why are you singling India out for these additional sanctions?
It's only been 8 hours, so let's see what happens over the next.
Sanctions.
You're going to see a lot more.
So this is a taste of
You're going to see a lot more. You're going to see so much secondary sanctions.
What began as Trump's tariff war on Beijing, in a paradoxical twist, nudged India and China closer. With tariffs hurting India's exports, Beijing, in an unexpected move, condemned the US's secondary sanctions on India's Russian oil imports.
I do think so. Trade and tariff matters should very much, come up for discussions this week in the meeting between, Wang Yi and Ajit Doval. The bigger trade issue is China's non-tariff barriers, which have recently been seen in the area of, rare earth metals, and especially in the matter of permanent magnets. So these are non-tariff barriers which we feel are being put in place by China regarding, the rare earth minerals, metals, and especially the permanent magnets, regarding the specialty chemicals for fertilizers, and also for pharmaceuticals. And all three are critical elements for India's supply chain in each our industries. So I think that would certainly be a matter of discussion.
A grouping that the West thought would lose its relevance now suddenly has a new life, with Prime Minister Modi expected to visit in Tianjin, China for the SCO Leaders Summit this year, his first visit to China since 2019. However, bilaterally, India and China still have miles to cover, From navigating a fertilizer shortage from an informal ban from China to severe restrictions on rare earth mineral exports, or even recalling top Chinese engineers from Foxconn's factory in Chennai, China has tried every trick in the book to coerce its wish list. Meanwhile, its top two demands continue: resumption of direct flights from India to China since they were stopped during COVID, and greater relaxation for Chinese foreign direct investment in India, removing the additional layer of scrutiny for neighboring nations.
I know that there are a whole bunch of issues related to what I just said in terms of trade, what people are feeling in terms of being bullied by the United States, what happens in Ukraine. Obviously, Gaza will figure in. So there are actually too many topics to talk about in addition to the bread and butter issues in terms of trade, development. So I don't know that it's going to be new issues to talk about so much as dealing with what is already on everybody's plate.
Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is set to visit Moscow on August 21st, India's second high-profile visit to Russia in a span of mere weeks. Talks are now intensifying for the revival of the Russia-India-China troika in the face of US aggression. Meanwhile, the US trade delegation that was expected to visit India next week has cancelled its visit. With India and China growing in proximity, alarms are ringing in Washington.
At this stage, I think US will just be watching the developments in the region, particularly given the fact that India is part of Quad. It will be watching if there's any direct impact in terms of India's positioning within Quad and India's role in Quad from a South Asia perspective. I think that is something they'll be keenly watching. It will also take us down to ties in defense, supply chains, and other critical points of factors of relationship between India and US. I think the strategic relationship India and US has, Washington will be very keen to see if there's going to be any dent on that, apart from this temporary tariff situation that is going on at this point in time.
As Wang Yi arrives, winds of change swirl once again. The world watches as two Asian giants look to recalibrate their destiny. This meeting may define the new strategic landscape, not just for India and China, but for the entire world order.
मुझे विश्वास है कि हम खुले मन से बातचीत करेंगे और हमारी चर्चा कंस्ट्रक्टिव होगी.
Moving on to our third one, next time in Moscow. Those were the words of Russian President Vladimir Putin when he interjected US President Donald Trump during their joint press conference. Breaking protocol and speaking in English, President Putin gave the only strong counter offer during the Alaska summit, a change to meet again, but this time in Moscow. Both the American and the Russians stepped away with smiles and now a promise to deliver on ground based on mutually respectful dialogue. With anticipation of a sit-down meeting in Moscow as early as next Sunday. Are we moving in the right direction vis-a-vis the Russia-Ukraine war? The world is looking forward to a resolution.
Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you.
Next time in Moscow. And that's an interesting one. Those were the words with which much-awaited summit in Alaska concluded between Russian President Vladimir Putin and the US President Donald Trump.
A success for the United States and a success for Russia. Obviously, the main thing that came out of this is that first we saw a very cordial, friendly relationship between Putin and Trump. Trump and treat Putin as an equal, with all dignity, with all respect. Also, he was very friendly.
The reason why it is a success for Russian President Vladimir Putin is because he was welcomed with a red carpet. At the same time, when all American allies in Europe and other places have imposed a strong sanction on Russian President Vladimir Putin, including a travel ban, at the same time, Donald Trump is welcoming him with a red carpet. So this gives a layer of extra legitimacy to Russian president without even having done any discussion on ceasefire, and goes back with the same state-like reception that he came for.
Putin has immediately gone back to business after reaching Moscow. Amid anticipation of a second summit expected to take place as early as next Sunday.
Еще раз была возможность спокойно, детально еще раз изложить нашу позицию. Мы, разумеется, с уважением относимся и к позиции американской администрации, которая видит необходимость скорейшего прекращения боевых действий. Ну и мы тоже этого бы хотели. И хотели бы перейти к решению всех вопросов мирными средствами. Разговор был очень откровенным, содержательным, и, на мой взгляд, это приближает нас к нужным решениям.
Trump, on the other hand, is back from Anchorage in Alaska to his anchor playing golf.
No, I don't think so. Trump realistically evaluates the situation here, admits that he can impose new sanctions against Russia, but they will be ineffective. He understands that Russia win in this conflict, and therefore he offers the Russian version of finish the conflict to partners from Ukraine and EU.
It looks like Trump and Putin achieved some principal agreement or principal partially agreement, and now Trump is preparing this meeting, common meeting, to put down the principal agreement on the paper.
But would the calm in DC last long, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky making his way to the US capital tomorrow to meet President Trump? His first outing to the States since the February debacle.
Отримую доповідь від нашої розвідки, від дипломатів про підготовку зустрічі на Алясці, про те, з чим їде Путін. Ми отримуємо також доповідь з регіонів України після російських ударів. Суми, російський удар по центральному ринку, Дніпровщина, удари по містах та підприємствах, Запоріжжя, Херсонщина, Донеччина, свідомі російські удари. Війна триває саме через те, що немає не тільки наказу, але й сигналів про підготовку Москви завершувати цю війну. В день перемовин вони теж вбивають, і це багато говорить.
I think the second summit or the second meeting will mark a very strong divide, ideological worldview divide between Trump and Europe. And when I mean Europe, I mean the European Union policies of most countries, with the exception of Slovakia and with the exception of Hungary, because most of the European Union, either center-right or center-left, they have the same worldview, a Russophobic worldview, a globalist worldview, a neocon worldview, and they are 100% behind the puppet regime in Kiev, in Ukraine.
At the beginning of the war, the then US President Joe Biden had already imposed a lot of sanctions and frozen Russian assets in the country at that moment. So it already imposed an economic blockade. On the military point of view, I do not think Donald Trump has any essential leverage that the United States can actually use against Russia. So clearly, I do not think that Trump has the capacity or the capability to enforce any coercive action.
Meanwhile, Europe is still scrambling. Just today, France, Germany and the United Kingdom held virtual talks on Trump-Putin Alaska summit, assessing the situation as it stands.
Нас разделяет только Берингов. И вот сегодня мы слышим, когда президент Трамп говорит, что если бы я был президентом, то войны бы не было. Я думаю, что так бы на самом деле и случилось. Я подтверждаю это, потому что в целом у нас с президентом Трампом наладился очень хороший деловой и доверительный контакт. И у меня есть все основания полагать, что, двигаясь по этому пути, мы можем дойти и чем быстрее, тем лучше, до завершения конфликта на Украине. Благодарю вас за внимание.
I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. That made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career.
However, reactions from across Europe were quite mixed. Nations like Czech Republic called Putin's statements propagandistic nonsense. The EU signaled that they won't sit this one out and will work with Ukraine instead. Meanwhile, leaders like Hungary's Viktor Orban called the meeting historic, claiming that the world today is much more safer than it was yesterday. With the second summit now expected in Moscow, the number one question everybody's asking: who has the upper hand?
In my point of view, the diplomatic position of Moscow seems stronger. The West and US has no leverage on Russia. New sanctions seems ineffective, taking into account the experience of Russia. At the same time, the Russian army has an advantage on the battlefield.
Maybe, but we need to understand that both sides, Russia and the United States, tried to use the shape of this negotiation round like an instrument on influence on the position of the side.
Not a lot has changed from the Alaska summit. The expectations still remain the same from US, Russia and Ukraine.
Les questions des territoires occupés seront des éléments déterminants d'une négociation de paix. Elles sont inséparables des garanties de sécurité qui sont apportées au reste du territoire ukrainien et à l'Europe, et qu'elles ne peuvent être discutées sans la présence du président ukrainien autour de la table. Il n'y a pas aujourd'hui de manière sérieuse des schémas d'échanges territoriaux qui sont sur la table.
Trump still is on the hunt for a ceasefire deal, as he thinks even a short-term ceasefire can win him a Nobel shot. Zelensky, who will be meeting Trump tomorrow, is expected to repeat his demand for a ceasefire, complete withdrawal of Russian troops, and most importantly, a strong pitch of no land swap and no territorial concessions. Putin, on the other hand, is still adamant on his red lines: demilitarization of Ukraine and control over gained territories.
Нашим странам важно и нужно перелистнуть страницу и вернуться к сотрудничеству. Символично, что неподалеку на границе России и США, как я уже говорил, проходит так называемая линия перемены дат, где можно буквально перешагнуть из вчера в завтра. И надеюсь, что у нас так и получится в политической сфере.
If he's able to operationalize these aspects of Russia's war play, then there is a strong reasons to believe that Russia might start to reconsider its own position on the war, which is not going in the best of its direction.
We'll have a good chance when this is over. So, just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant. But we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there.
Trump is optimistic, Putin is pragmatic, and Ukraine is skeptical. That's the hand dealt at the global high table this week. Is this the constellation of success or the recipe for a disaster? Only time will tell.
All right, helping us understand and to do some crystal ball gazing, joining us, former Foreign Secretary of India, a veteran of diplomacy, Kanwal Sibal. Thank you so much for joining us. And my first question to you, Mr. Sibal, is that how do you read the statements that have come out from both the White House and Kremlin? They are cautious, at the same time optimistic that some progress has happened.
Well, President Putin has made it quite clear that the fundamental concerns of Russia have to be met and that there has to be a fair balance in the security concerns in Europe, which means that the position that Russia has been taking all along, there's nothing new, has apparently been conveyed directly to President Trump and seems to have made an impression. Because if you know, all this while, President Trump was advocating a ceasefire, an immediate ceasefire. He wanted to have a quick victory, to something to show very quickly that he had achieved some results. If you remember, he had said that if he had been president, or within 2 days, 2 hours, he would solve this Ukraine issue. Therefore, he is a man in a hurry. But after having spoken to Putin at length, I was a bit surprised that he issued subsequently a tweet. He didn't say that at the joint press conference.
Yeah.
Let's forget the ceasefire because ceasefires can be broken, but let's go in for a peace agreement, which is precisely what President Putin has been saying, that the fundamental issues have to be resolved so that there is durable peace. Now, there are two problems. One is that Zelensky simply cannot agree to ceding Ukrainian territory. If he cedes Ukrainian territory, he's finished. He can no longer be president. And not only no longer be president, I don't know what his fate will be. It'll be an extremely unpopular, unacceptable position to take for him. Number two, Europe has made it very clear that they are going to keep supporting Ukraine to the hilt. And the latest statement issued by the coalition of the willing clearly shows that they are not willing to make any compromise with regard to more sanctions on Russia, giving more weapons and funds to Ukraine to continue the fighting, and that Ukraine should be strong enough when it comes to negotiating. The only thing they have said, some people have said as if it's something new, that it is for Ukraine to make territorial concessions. This is what they've been saying all along, that you cannot take these decisions over the head of Ukraine. Now, if Ukraine itself agrees to make some territorial concessions, Europe can't stand in the way. But I am quite sure that they are whispering in his ear that don't accept to make any territorial concessions.
Yeah, in fact I wanted to ask you that, Ambassador Sybil, that the statements that have come from Zelensky and the kind of tepid response that we have seen coming in from European capitals, it's almost like it's not the coalition of the willing, it's more like a coalition of the unwilling. So in that case, how does Trump take this forward? He has put himself into a corner.
A very difficult position, because whatever Trump's intentions, and clearly he wants to solve this issue as quickly as possible, and he's made it known why. In fact, I was a bit surprised that he was saying it so openly, that he wants to wean Russia away from China. And there is no love lost between Russia and China, and Biden made this crucial mistake of putting them together. Now, but there are very, very strong forces around him and in the United States itself, in the Congress, in the media, in the think tanks, which are dead set against any concession to Russia. The manner in which the US media has reported what happened in Alaska tells you how deep this anger, this animus towards Russia is. Number two, he just cannot abandon Europe and Zelensky, because then he'll go down in history as the one who lost Ukraine and strengthened Russia. So there's a limit to what he can do to browbeat Europe and Ukraine to agree to what he has in mind in terms of what he has discussed with Putin. Therefore, I think it's going to be difficult, but difficult for him, yes.
So, round one almost went to Putin, going by even American press, even European press. Now, between round one and round two, which is likely to take place in Moscow and possibly very soon, possibly next week, Zelensky is flying down to Washington, D.C., and he's going to have a meeting with Trump. What can you think Trump carry with him, given this response that he has got, to Moscow when the round two happens?
It won't happen in Moscow. I'm quite sure. It won't happen in Moscow. It can happen in Moscow only if there is a solid agreement, but you're not going to have a solid peace agreement in 1 week. No way. So the Moscow business is out. Now, whether he'll tell Zelensky, look, this is the best you can get, agree, and if you don't agree, then I am withdrawing from all my efforts and I leave it to you and Europe to handle this, which they can't do on their own. But the danger in this is that if he did that, he would then be accused of selling Ukraine down the, whatever it is called.
I think you can.
And that, historically speaking, would be then a blot on his legacy. So it's very difficult for him. Now, Europe is hell-bent. Look at how German Chancellor, the French President, and all the others, the manner in which they absolutely want to continue this war. I can understand their position. The issue is European. Sir. The war is in Europe, and they're not part of the discussions. And their entire prestige has been destroyed as a geopolitical player.
Right.
And it has ramifications down the line for them in terms of their global position.
Yeah.
So it's very, very complex situation.
Complex, and most likely we are looking at the possibility of a sabotage going by what you are suggesting. Ambassador Sibal, thank you so much for joining us with that perspective on our show. Looking forward. Thanks for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, moving on from the stars to the national capital and straight into the future of India's space dreams. Tonight on Looking Forward, we are chasing tomorrow. India's first man on the ISS. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is back home, but hold on, his week ahead is more exciting than his week in the orbit. A meeting with Prime Minister Modi, an emotional homecoming to Lucknow, his hometown, and then standing tall as the face of India's space future at the National Space Day celebrations back in New Delhi. This isn't about looking back at a hero's return. This is about looking forward to Gaganyaan, to India's own space station, to a future where the world looks at India not as a participant, but as a leader in space. So strap in, because Shukla's journey is far from over.
Today, the 17th of August, is the day Shubhanshu Shukla returned to India. Delhi airport turned into a stage of pride. Welcomed by Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh, Delhi Chief Minister Rekha Gupta, ISRO Chief Dr. V. Narayanan, and embraced by his wife and young son. For Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla's parents, it was an emotional roller coaster, a flashback of their young boy right before their eyes to what he had become, India's space hero.
बहुत खुशी का पल है हमारे लिए कि हमारा बच्चा इतने दिनों के बाद वापस लौटा है भारत में, तो हमें बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। मैं किसी वजह से नहीं जा पाई हूँ, बाकी पूरा परिवार गया है स्वागत करने के लिए, दिल्ली पहुँचा हुआ है। उनके पापा गए हैं, बहनें गई हैं, सब भांजे भतीजे सब वहीं हैं। ये उपलब्धि तो बड़ी है ही, अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है। बेटे ने जो कारनामा किया है वो शायद लाखों करोड़ों लोगों में किसी एक बच्चे ने किया है, तो ये बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है हमारे लिए। सब खुशी मना रहे हैं, सबको बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, बहुत सब शुभकामनाएं देते हैं, बच्चे को बहुत विशेष देते हैं।
His homecoming was rich with the nation's emotions, India's emotions. It was nothing less than a hero's welcome for India's first man from the International Space Station.
हमारा जो भारत है वो ये अपने आप को पेश करना चाहता है कि हमारा सुनहरा भारत है और एक भारत है, अखंड भारत है।
धरती पर पूरे विश्व का पताका तिरंगा फहराने वाले भारत के द्वितीय अंतरिक्ष यात्री आज दिल्ली के इस यहाँ प्रांगण में आ रहे।
But now, the real story begins. Shukla is expected to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the national capital tomorrow. It will be more than just a courtesy call. It will be a moment of vision. Because the Prime Minister has already declared during his Independence Day speech that India is preparing for Gaganyaan, for our own space station, even as the nation celebrates Shubhanshu Shukla's historic feat.
और हमारे ग्रुप कैप्टन शुभांशु शुक्ला इस स्टेशन से लौट चुके हैं और आने वाले कुछ दिनों में वो भारत भी आ रहे हैं।
Looking forward, Shukla will travel to Lucknow, his hometown, to the very place his space dreams took flight at a very, very young age.
प्रधानमंत्री से मुलाकात होगी, प्रधानमंत्री उनके अनुभव को जानेंगे, फिर बड़े बड़े अधिकारियों से मीटिंग है, उसके बाद लखनऊ लौटना होगा।
हाँ बिल्कुल, सबसे मुलाकात है, इसीलिए वहाँ 23-24 तक बिजी हैं, उसके बाद ही लखनऊ उनका आना होगा। इसीलिए तो पापा और उनके बच्चे तो सब लोग वहीं मिलने गए हैं कि मुलाकात करें।
लखनऊ सुन रहा हूँ बहुत तैयारी है, पूरा गाजे बाजे से स्वागत होगा एयरपोर्ट पर।
अब जो होगा आप लोग देखेंगे ही, हम लोग भी देखेंगे।
For him, it is not just rest, it is returning to his roots, to his family, to the soil that raised him. From the stars, back to the streets of his childhood. And this year, Shukla will not just be an astronaut in attendance, he will be the face of India's space future. School children, scientists, policymakers, all will look at him and see what India can become. Because this is not just about one man, this is about a nation. A nation with over 300 startups building satellites, propulsion systems, exploration tools, and space robotics. A nation that is no longer just a participant in global space exploration, but a leader in the making. When India speaks of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Gaganyaan, it is speaking of a future where astronauts are trained, launched, and sustained on indigenous technology. When India speaks of a space station, it is speaking of a country that will have its own laboratory in orbit, a permanent home in space. And when India speaks of Shubhanshu Shukla, it speaks of courage, discipline, and the audacity to dream. Because Shaks has shown the world that dreams do come true. So this week, as India welcomes him home, as he bows before his parents in Lucknow, and as he stands tall on National Space Day, the theme is very clear. It is about looking forward to what India will do, because his mission may be over, but India's mission has just begun, and picture abhi baki hai.
All right, friend, this is all that we could pack in this edition of Looking Forward. Hope you enjoyed it. And remember, whatever we have brought to you over the last 50 minutes is something is going to happen over the next 1 week, including, of course, the nomination process of the next Vice President of India, BJP throwing a googly there. Already rumblings of dissent within the Indi. Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray, perhaps inclined to support CP Radhakrishnan. What would happen of the DMK, given the fact that it takes so much of Tamil chauvinism for granted? That would be interesting to watch out. And of course, Wang Yi, Chinese Foreign Minister, tomorrow, and Shubhanshu Shukla, of course, meets Prime Minister Modi. All that. Please look forward to it. Thanks for watching.